When evaluating a university's sustainability, metrics like carbon footprints or campus gender ratios are straightforward to measure. However, UN Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals, presents a unique problem. Partnerships are inherently abstract. Global university rankings demand hard, verifiable evidence, requiring an institution to translate fluid networking into quantifiable data points. It requires taking a sprawling, nebulous web of human connections and snapping them into a rigid grid of structured data. This data output drives the Times Higher Education 2026 Sustainability Impact Ratings. For SDG 17, the Industrial University of Ho Chi Minh City secured a global rank between 601 and 800. That placement is drawn from a competitive pool of 1,610 institutions worldwide. How exactly does a university engineer a system that takes localized, grassroots community action and converts it into a globally recognized performance metric? Achieving a rank on this list requires a three-tiered architecture: international data integration, national policy influence, and massive grassroots execution. The first tier is international. Global ranking committees require a verifiable, standardized baseline of evidence to even consider an institution for placement. Standardizing educational data is difficult enough within one country, but aligning those metrics across the distinct national borders of the ASEAN region introduces immense logistical friction. To solve this, IHU integrated into the Data-Driven Quality Assurance Project, a structural mechanism for centralizing cross-border information. Instead of reporting fragmented local statistics, the project forces disparate data through a filter, converting it into uniform formats that meet regional benchmarks. The primary collection mechanism for this was the 2023 University Alumni Survey, executed in partnership with the ASEAN University Network. This survey isolated specific, quantifiable metrics, primarily focusing on long-term educational efficacy and post-graduation employment rates. By capturing these specific outcomes, the survey directly feeds into broader regional evaluations for SDG 4, which measures quality education. Generating this data requires external validation. Organizations like AUNQA and the UK's Quality Assurance Agency serve as the ultimate auditors of this internal tracking. IUH applies the findings from these external audits directly to its internal management systems, creating a cycle of mandatory, continuous operational improvement. By embedding itself in these international quality assurance networks, the university guarantees its internal reporting meets the strict evidentiary threshold demanded by global ranking committees. International data tracking establishes the baseline, but the second tier requires demonstrating top-down policy influence within the university's home nation. Ranking frameworks evaluate whether an institution can successfully bridge the gap between theoretical academic research and applied national legislation. A core piece of historical evidence for this is IUH's active participation in the national consultation process regarding amendments to Vietnam's 2013 constitution. The university supplied written opinions and legal expertise to ensure that these constitutional adjustments were grounded in evidence-based academic research. A more recent example is the 2025 National Conference on Digital Technology and Digital Economy, a platform aimed at synthesizing complex legal and technological shifts. This event brought together a highly specific mix of stakeholders, including leading legal experts, government agencies, and corporate enterprises. They convened to debate high-stakes legislative frameworks required to govern artificial intelligence, national digital transformation, and human rights protections in a modernized economy. Hosting this dialogue established IUH as a central interdisciplinary hub for addressing emerging global challenges. High-ranking institutions focus on constructing the platforms where national policies are drafted, debated, and refined. High-level policy and international networking must eventually yield the third tier: localized, measurable outcomes on the ground. The Erasmus Plus Green Edu Seeds project demonstrates how international capital cascades into localized action. The project operates across borders, executing coordinated initiatives in both Vietnam and Thailand. It delivers specific local outputs, funding sustainable agriculture, supporting ecotourism initiatives, and fostering green entrepreneurship. Parallel to these international grants, the university relies on NGO partnerships to drive massive domestic volunteer campaigns. The 2025 Green Summer Program served as a primary engine for generating community-level impact data. To understand the raw scale of this operation, the university mobilized more than 500 students for direct fieldwork. These teams executed concrete community improvements, from developing rural infrastructure to advancing local digital transformation and running the Green Dream project, providing online English instruction to children in remote areas. These grassroots initiatives generate the massive volumetric proof of impact data required to populate the final tier of an annual SDG ranking submission. Achieving a top-tier global ranking is merely a snapshot in time. Maintaining that position against thousands of competing institutions requires continuous systemic upgrades. There is a persistent vulnerability in this system. If extensive community actions are not properly logged, they are effectively invisible to global evaluators. IHU's 2026 to 2030 Improvement and Expansion Plan is designed as a direct response to this bottleneck. The primary internal focus of the plan is to overhaul institutional data governance systems, improving the accuracy and transparency of their reporting. Operationally, this requires adopting modern digital tools and establishing strict data sharing protocols across all university departments. The upgrade also requires human calibration, implementing capacity-building workshops to train staff in evidence-based reporting and cross-cultural communication. It is the process of an institution continuously expanding its capacity to plug seamlessly into a much wider global network. The stakes remain high, with over 1,600 institutions worldwide competing for these same metrics of recognition. Securing a lasting position in global sustainability metrics requires a rigorous, ongoing commitment to institutional architecture, data governance, and strategic foresight.